Welcome, everybody. This is a very, 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 very first and special episode with Gloria Lybecker. This is Healing You. I am your co-host, Anna Levin, and I am very honored and excited to start this conversation, to get to know who Gloria is and all the goodness that she brings with her and that she's doing in this world. Welcome, Gloria.
Thank you, Anna. I'm so thrilled to be here with you today.
Me too. Me too. So where do we begin? There's so much to you.
There is. I've been here a while. So yeah, there's a bit of history.
Yes, exactly. So walk us a little bit about, where you come from, what's your life story in a short version, so that we get to know really the background, which I found very interesting.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm the youngest of four from a family that came from the Midwest. And the gifts I got from my parents was music from my mother, who's just an amazing musician, and the love of gardening and animals from my father. And so grew up with lots of animals out in the country, and then we moved to the Northwest, and life was really good. And I love children. One of the things that my children have given me is actually my own life back more fully, because I was one of those people that grew up saying, oh, I had a great childhood. I have a good family. I know my parents love me. And I do. Those things are all true. And at the same time, I really did experience a lot of abuse, physical abuse as a child, and it was suppressed and repressed. And when my own children started to grow up, it kind of triggered those memories inside of myself. And so even though there was these conditions inside of myself not to take care of me, I found that I was able to expand my heart and my way of being for my children. Because I would always slow down and I would ask myself, what would I want my children to do? Mm-hmm. And so that would inspire me to find something different that I could do.
That's wonderful. I love how you present that in a not this or that, but and. It's both at the same time, and it's okay. And that's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah. Along the way, I'm my horse, and when I was a child, and I did have a lot of well, it wasn't relational because I had to be secret. I couldn't tell what had happened to me. But I would be able to go out and be in nature and be with my horse and my cat and the dog. And so that was my refuge. It's where I would have solace. And I loved to have that time. And then I could be free to be who I am. Mm-hmm. And as I got a little older, then when I was 14, I had the unfortunate experience of being set up and I was sexually assaulted.
Wow.
So again, then there was this shame spiral and this feeling like there's just something wrong with me that must have been my fault. And there's just so much that comes out of that level of trauma.
Yes.
And again, there was no support. So what's one to do? And again, coming back to my children, wanting their lives to be different, wanting there to be support for my children. And as my children grew, then some of them had some sensory issues, where life was just too bright and it was too loud and it was too strong. And I had gone through my life and I had found my way to counseling and becoming a counselor, especially to work with children because I wanted children to always have resources. And then I started working with their parents and I realized that the parents are just children at a different phase in their life.
Yes.
And so it made people more accessible. And I could stay more open-hearted and curious. But when we show up differently than the norm, then what happens most of the time in the culture is people want to label and judge and fix. And that wasn't working for my children. So I started looking outside of the box on how could I communicate differently.
Because your children had some emotional issues, or why are you saying that?
Well, because my youngest son, he had extrasensory perception. He had sensory overload. And so it was difficult for him to be in a crowd. It was difficult for him to wear clothes at times. Life was just really a challenge. And so with a nervous system in overload, then it just spontaneously combusts. And how could I create an environment that would allow my child to grow the pathways that he needs? So that opened the door for me to begin to look outside of that box.
Yes.
And develop more tools to support him.
Yeah. So I'm trying to connect in my sweet little head your experience of trauma that I don't want to minimize, of course, but we're really talking about what you're doing today, so I don't want to dive so much into that. But I believe that trauma, well, the way I perceive you is that you have this compassionate, loving, and yet strong, space that you can hold for other people due to the fact that you suffer from trauma and you experience that. Am I right in that connection, or?
Yeah. Well, this pathway, when I opened the door to learning nonviolent communication, and I took my youngest two children with me to the camp where you started. That's where the journey began. And I was able to make a connection with a dear friend, Sarah Payton, and we became empathy buddies. And we would begin practicing holding space for one another and developing our skill sets for resonant language and resonant empathy and time travel empathy, and just how to release unconscious contracts. There's a whole cluster of different ways that you can stay in relationship, because the need was to be accompanied. Right. So through the years of allowing myself to be vulnerable and transparent and to risk trusting another human, I would start to have a different bodily experience myself. And as I was able to reclaim the different parts of myself that had fractured and splintered and I didn't even know, then I could begin to recognize that in others.
Yes.
By learning more about the body, by bringing the body back into balance, so it wasn't just an operating like a robot from my own conditioning.
Right. Beautiful. So my question is this something that you innately had in you? I mean, what was that point? Was there a point, or was there an inspirational aspect in your life that actually kind of like said, like, there's more to this. There's not just trauma. There's actually, I can transcend that. I can grow from that. I can inspire myself and others. I can contribute from this. Was there a specific place? I mean, I think people, sometimes they don't understand the steps that are required in order to transcend an experience, and because it's a lot of work.
Well, it's a deep dive. It's a deep dive into, am I willing to be who I really am, or do I need to keep up this facade of who I think I'm supposed to be?
Yes.
And it's like, well, no, that's not why I'm here. So there was a moment when my oldest son had gone through some troubled times, and he went to then live with his dad. And I thought that was the end of the world. And it was the end of the world for me, because I wasn't ready. And he was that 14 going on 15. Yes. So I think it kind of broke something open inside of me.
Yes.
What can I do different? This is not the life I signed up for. I remember going out into the wheat field and throwing myself on the ground and just getting mad at God and just having it out. And at that point, I said, I'm going to learn how to stay present. I'm going to learn how to have a relationship that is really authentic and bigger than this, right?
Yes. So it sounds to me like pain sometimes it is a catalyst for us to realize, oh my gosh, this is really, it's not working out the way I would like to. And so how else can I see it, right?
Yeah, and it's also love. Love is the most powerful energy that there is.
Yes.
And the love that I have for my children is just enormous. And my grandchildren.
Yes.
So the love will allow us to reach further and expand our capacity to be in the present moment. To stay present.
Yes.
When we're present, we don't even recognize that we are, because we just are.
Right. Yeah.
And so to find a way to stay connected like that.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for sharing. Tell us a little bit more about, like, what's the transition between this realization and you became a counselor, and then you started to evolve also, because you have there's a very spiritual side to you that also in the work that you do, of course. So can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, well, when I went through counselor training, there's a very spiritual foundation to that. I went through counselor training through Good Samaritan Ministries, faith-based organization. And then I continued to work. I became a coach because I wanted to be more relational than the laws would have around counseling. And through the whole time, my horses were my companions. And so there's a way of communicating with other mammals and with nature that is so healing for us humans. And so there's a blend in that I would begin to notice how that would help us to transcend. I could take my clients out to be with the horses, and I could see how energetically there was shifts within. So learning the neuroscience, relational neuroscience of interpersonal neurobiology, it started to make sense what would happen in our nervous system when we would be accompanied by others. So being accompanied by a human can be wonderful, but it also can be very, very beneficial and therapeutic to be accompanied by another mammal.
Yes, which is what you used to do, right, as a little girl?
All the time. And so when I've learned the research around that, I'm like, well, no wonder
I was doing that, right?
Yeah, because it would really, really change my sympathetic nervous system to come back into my ventral vagal social engagement system, where my heart could open.
Yes. So. And I love that. And yeah, because when I look at your work, what, you know, in my own experience in life, when I pursue, you know, people to help me, professionals, I want someone that is actually going to tap into the intuitive field of what life is. As much as, of course, you want them to have experience, you want them to be educated and competent, but I don't think there's anything that can really replace the importance of a heart center space that somebody can actually offer you. I think that's like the number one ingredient, in my humble opinion, you know, to start healing. And animals and nature are, you know, essential, even though we don't seek it all the time.
Right. Well, there's that electromagnetic field from Mother Earth that does support us at a cellular level. And so by learning the neuroscience that I did in order to understand how we grow and develop and mature, really helped me then to heal my own self. Because I would recognize when I would start to be triggered by something, I could begin to slow my process down in order to create new pathways. And so having support with that and understanding that, it made sense of this spiritual field or domain in which I really thrived in.
Yes.
No wonder. And so also music, those frequencies, those are so healing when you really embody them.
Yes.
And that also has been, that's why I'm a sound healer and I do sound therapy.
I love it.
The blend of it all together with doing energy exercises, slowing down and really being mindful about being right here, right now.
Yes.
And being out of nature. They're just all beautiful combination to come
I love it.
home, awakening to yourself.
Yes. And I would assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it's also healing for you. I mean, I think we're so connected that as you facilitate, you also receive. It's a beautiful abundance, right, that we can experience.
Exactly. Well, it's like, well, who's the giver and who's the receiver?
Yes.
It's a reciprocal way of being in relationship.
Yes. Yes, that's one of my prayers in the past year has been, I pray for that blurred line where I don't even realize who's receiving and who's giving. I think that's beautiful. And I think that's possible. And yeah, I love it. I love it. So tell us a little bit about, like, how can people get to know about you and a little bit more in detail of what you do? Do you have a website? I
do have a website. And so people can go to healingyouShow.com. And there's a lot of different selections and choices you can have there. You can work with me virtually from the comfort of your own home, or you can come on out and get to be on the land at Healing with Horses Sanctuary as well.
That's beautiful because people, I work virtually and in person as well. So would you say that is as effective? What are the differences between working with you virtually as it is in person?
Well, when you can come to me in person, I can touch you.
Right.
We have skin-to-skin contact, and you can get to walk on the land. So that's a beautiful experience in and of itself. And at the same time, it's deeply profound and so rich to come into community, either one-on-one, or I do small group programming where I have people come from all over the world. In fact, there's one group that will recognize, I'll say hi to them.
Nice.
And they've been together that they've become like a real close community, like a family almost, and they're worldwide. And so there's something about enduring relationships of trust where you get to co-create. So we all bring our own energy in, but when we come in together, even virtually, and we share a same focus, with resonant warmth and accompaniment, we all receive at the same time too.
That's beautiful. So in the healingyouShow.com, they can find your information and how to contact you and all that. They can have also, do you offer maybe an introductory get to know who you are for free? Okay.
Yes, I do. There's a free 30-minute virtual. It could be on the telephone or it can be on Zoom so that people get to see me. We get to engage. We get to tune into what needs our life for them and what's going to most fit for them.
Beautiful. I love the because one size doesn't fit all. And so I love that people can come to you and you really give them the time and the importance that they deserve to tailor something to their needs.
Absolutely. Yeah, to their unique needs.
That's beautiful. Oh, Gloria, it was such a pleasure, this first episode, to get to know you better. I cannot wait to get to know more about you and what you do and more stories. And I'm very, very, very happy.
Yeah, it's fun to get together with you too. I look forward to the next one.
Absolutely. Have a great one.
Okay, you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.